because the agencies couldn't get together. The sheriff's office couldn't get together, the DA's office and the county council to sit down and give her directions on what to do. Well, that's what she told us. Well, it turned out that was a lie. There's been 6 meetings that, including the DA's office, attended a number of them, on the county council, probation department, planning department, all kinds of departments. 10 departments showed up. Over 20 people showed up one meeting. And so the question is, the DA's office was there. What were they doing there? We have no idea what was going on in those meetings. The only thing we know for certain what was going on in those meetings is they were not writing an ordinance to be submitted to San Bernardino County. So the question we want to know is, what were they doing at all these meetings? And your office was there. So, no.
Here's the meetings. I've got them right here.
Oh, you got a copy of it?
Yep, sure do, Lanny.
This doesn't list the meetings.
Yes, it does. Okay.
These are all the meetings. And here we are, the district attorney office of that meeting, the district attorney's office of that meeting, the district attorney's office of that meeting. Looking at that meeting, they were at the last 3 meetings. And there was a big one here on January 27th.
We were not invited to those.
And we were not invited. We weren't even told about it. Even though we were told we would keep informed on all progress and everything going on. We had 6 meetings, completely in secret. No one told us about them. Your office was there. What were you doing there?
Probably going over giving our input as to what.
And what is your input?
You have to go to the DA.
Oh, we're here. You're here. Can you find out for us?
We'll wait.
Okay. When will we get an answer?
Well,
when will you see Mr. Lund?
I can try to talk to him.
Could you get to that on the site?
How about we come back to this afternoon? Thank you for bringing that stuff.
You're welcome.
A lot of us
Keep them under
The purpose of the meeting turned out to be to give San Bernardino law enforcement, sheriff, and the DA's office permission to go back and start arresting and prosecuting. Now, you were well aware that San Bernardino County participated with San Diego County in the lawsuit to have Proposition 215 overturned. You lost. The Supreme Court says, nope. You have to follow what the California Supreme Court says. The California Supreme Court says you enforce state law even if it violates federal law. That's what you're supposed to do. Now, and so we thought that San Bernardino County, after we went to the board, after they lost the lawsuit, was going to be doing the right thing. We had a meeting with the sheriff's office, we had a meeting with the planning department, we were assured that an ordinance was being drafted, and would be ready by January. January comes, nothing there. No one said anything to us. And then what happens? What happens starting in March? The sheriff's office start raiding collectors. They raided the one in Salem. They raided the one in Chino. And they're doing this because they used to claim that during the litigation, when you were trying to get Proposition 215 declared unconstitutional, you claimed that you could still go out and arrest legal medical marijuana patients and throw them into the criminal justice system because it violated federal law, and as long as it was under litigation, you can continue to arrest and prosecute. Well, when you lost, you couldn't arrest and prosecute anymore. Now you're back to doing it again, justifying, well, there's that case in Anaheim, and it's under litigation, so we're going to start arresting and prosecuting. And that was the purpose of these meetings, to give cover to your office to continue prosecuting medical marijuana patients again, like Don Lawrence and like the Clayton Collective and the Chino Collective.
We need access to these meetings. We need to be invited.
Those meetings had nothing to do with going after the Chino Collective. And why
Well, we're the public. We're the right to attend.
The problem with the logic there is Mr. Lawrence's case initiated before these meetings. That is the date committee, but didn't his case start before the meeting?
Where's the thing? No, I think there's.
Again, I don't
I think he was arrested. When he was finally when he was arrested he was put in jail at the preliminary hearing. He'd already been arrested, been around for several months.
But the actual initiation of his case, I think, predated these meetings. Again, I don't have.
Well, no, the first meeting was in June of 2009.
But with the ones you're talking about us getting at.
Well, you mean the sheriffs were there?
No.
They arrested
You
him.
just did that.
The district attorney. We're the meeting.
The district attorney went after him because of these meetings. If these meetings occurred after he was arrested on the initial case, and your logic is flawed there. I'm just saying.
Well, why are we invited to these meetings as the public? We want to be able to attend these meetings. They're having these meetings outside of the public. We're not invited. We're not told about them. We have a right to be at these meetings, and we have a right to know what goes on at these meetings.
And I have a Public Record Request Act coming back. We sent a letter to Ms. Springer saying, what did they discuss at this meeting? And she said, we don't have to tell you. Why don't they want to tell us? If all they were talking about was enacting medical marijuana ordinances, regulating collectives, you know, how far from schools and how many allowed and all this kind of stuff, why don't they want to talk about that? Because that's not what they talked about. They talked about legal issues to get covered so you guys in the sheriff's office can keep arresting and prosecuting patients and providers. That's what was talked about, and that's why they won't want to. Unless, now, maybe you'll come back and say, well, here's the minutes of these meetings and show us that you really did talk about things to do with the ordinance. But I don't believe for 1 second that was ever discussed. So prove us wrong. Prove us wrong.
Well, I know in regards to Chino that you have there's no merit there because I had nothing to do with those meetings, and I'm the one who was basically the ground level of the Chino.
Whatever.
So
the point is we have no ordinance. And it's going to end in June 19th. The moratorium that they have now in effect ends. And what's going to happen? They're going to sit there and say, "Oh, well, gee, we don't have an ordinance, so we're going to pass a ban." So because our staff needs more time to continue operating, and then they don't have to worry about arrest and prosecution.
One of the things that they have to do when they're opening a business is they've got to look at the applicable law. That's their burden. My job is not to educate businesses on how to run their businesses legally. So I can't. And for me to tell you right now is kind of an exercise in futility because it's the business operation.
Well, the question is, the problem is they don't know exactly. We got the Attorney General guidelines.
But
Are you familiar with the Attorney General guidelines?
But how? Yes, I know.
All right. Is that what they have to do? Is that all they have to do is follow the Attorney General guidelines? They're going to be okay? What do they have to do? No one tells them exactly what, you tell every other business here, you've got to do A, you've got to do B, you've got to do C, you've got to do D. Everybody knows exactly what they have to do in order to follow the law. The collectives don't. That's why we're asking for licensing and we're asking for regulation. So collectives will know exactly what they have to do to satisfy law enforcement so they won't run afoul of the law. That's all we're asking. I don't think that's a reasonable thing to ask. Do you?
No, but my job.
So how do we get these rules and regulations? One of the ways we will get them is the District Attorney Mike Ramos contacts the Board of Supervisors and says, you know what? Our office wants you to develop regulations for collectives. It would happen so fast. It would happen so fast that it would be incredible.
I have to be at 11 o'clock to have some officers come by, but the businesses, they've got to talk to attorneys or read the laws themselves. My job is not to
We have
access to the meetings. I want access to these meetings.
The Chino case is beyond the point. This is whether they operated properly or not. The problem is that we were promised regulations, we were promised licensing by January with a draft ordinance. It hasn't happened. There's been a series of meetings. We have no idea what happened.
Right.
Your office participated.
Private.
We want to see. We are asking to be licensed. We are asking to be regulated. And why San Bernardino County is dragging their feet and trying to turn this Wild West show into something that's more law and order is beyond my wildest imagination.
No, I don't really characterize it as a Wild West show, but I'm going to leave it at that. But
can you refer us to somebody?
Who's going to ask that question? Most of them, you're going to have. They can't be answered. Why the board's not letting you guys in at the meetings? That's something that you've been addressing.
No, it's not the board.
These are secret meetings with your office.
Which they get from us. They get these from us.
I don't know how secret they are, but
we weren't invited, and they didn't tell anybody about them.
Did you know about them?
Because we had to get a
Did you know about these meetings when they were taking place?
Answer yes or no.
They can't. He can't answer because he did know, and they're having secret meetings.
Did I know there was a meeting at 2 o'clock on this day?
No.
You're avoiding the question. It makes me wonder why you're avoiding the question. Why are you avoiding the question?
I'm trying to find out what your question is.
The question is, did you know about any of those meetings that were on this
I know
meeting?
meetings happened. Did I know beforehand when meetings were happening?
So if you didn't know, we're not going to know, are we?
Your office was at them. You may not have known, but your office was represented.
No, nobody told us. Nobody called us.
Dennis Christie showed up for one meeting from your office.
You're going to talk to Mr. Ramos and about getting the DA
Jane Allen
to contact the Board of Supervisors, asking that they get this draft done of the ordinance.
No, I'll talk to him about. I got to read this first.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
That's what's asking about money questions.
Probably should read about that.
Okay.
And then tell him about this meeting.
Okay.
And then it's up to him to what he's decided to do.
So,
okay.
Hey, you know what we would really like? Why don't you ask Mr. Ramos if we could sit down and talk?
Please.
Yeah. I'll ask him.
Already.
Tell him.